god. Yeah, we spent about 10 minutes just trying to figure out what the hell we were going to talk about today, and somehow we ended up talking about the Spice Girls, which was not one of the possible subjects that we even thought about. But that's what you get when you watch us, because, well, especially anything involving me, because as anyone who follows me knows, I will derail any topic. It's just what I do. I can't help it. It's like magnetism.
The great derailer.
I am the
So
great
what are
derailer.
we talking about today, Kat?
So, we were talking about millennials and Zoomers, everyone's favorite worst people conversation topics, the people that are being blamed for everything and also kind of doing everything good and bad.
Let me, if I can, I'll start by saying one of the big points is the millennial. So I started off, and this is, don't put this on Katz. This is, he's much more less horrible than I am, but I was pointing out, well, in our own ways, but especially in the
True.
politically correct ways.
Oh, well, yeah.
About 70% of the country is 74 or 75% of the country by the time millennials are coming of age were white. Now, you have all these kids who, to revolt, their professors were telling them, throw away your whiteness, all you have to do is pay the tithe, tithe meaning, the ancient, not ancient, but a couple hundred years ago, to absolve yourself of your sins. Rich people would commit all these sins and then pay the church a tithe, and they'd be absolved of their sins.
That's indulgence.
Well, it's also, but oh yeah, the tithe is, you're right. The tithe is the Catholic Church. Correct? That's what you give to the Catholic Church.
Well, I mean, all Christian churches. It comes from the teachings of Jesus.
Right. So it's like in Judaism we have tzedakah, which means you give, and there's in every synagogue, real synagogues, not the Reform, atheist, liberal synagogue. We have a room, and there you go in with charity, and you either are going in the room to give charity or to take charity, but no one knows. And so, because we don't, like, I'm not allowed religiously to give money to a homeless person because it takes his dignity away. And that's why the concept of tzedakah is you go in the room and no one knows if you're the man taking money because you need it or giving it. And so it alleviates the whole shame. It is
a money room.
It's a money room.
I'm kind of picturing the money tube on, which game show is that, where like you go in there and it's just dollar bills flying around you.
Well, they also have those at like local, like not amusement parks, but those, like fun house type places where there's trampolines and things like that. Mm-hmm. For your birthday, you can go into a room and money blows all around you and you got to catch it.
Yeah, they should definitely start incorporating those into synagogues. But like put in like also like metal Star of David's just flying around.
They should incorporate one of those in my house, and every morning I wake up and I just.
Mm-hmm. Except it'll be your own money, so it's like, what do I get today? Oh, but I'm broke.
But
you want to attach to other people's money.
Yes.
Every apartment complex just has like a it's true. Like you just, as a Jew, you just have automatic backdoor access to everyone's accounts. It's, I know.
As we should. It's part of our culture.
It is known.
It's a cultural. What are you, an anti-Semite? You don't think that we should get all the monies?
Don't
answer that. We're going to get canceled before we take off. No, wait. Let me say this, because my point is, I was wrong. You're right. It's not tithe. It's
indulgence,
but it's a concept where powerful men told other rich men that all they had to do to be seen in the eyes of society and God, to be absolved of their sins, was to give. Now today, it's millennials. At the time, where the whole country was not only over 70% white, it was white-dominated culture, and so it almost was rebellious to say, "I have white privilege. I'm so sorry," and you're absolved of your sins. Now, you and I, when we talk about, and I know this Keepa looks super stupid. It's my Trump 2020 black one to match my Breitbart shirt. But it's the concept that you and I usually talk about the Zoomers and the Coomers as nihilists, and it's
Yeah.
nihilism.
And
And
for those
it's
of you who
true
don't
because
know what we're talking about, that's nihilists are people that don't really believe in meaning. That's a really simplified version, but it'll get you going. Sorry,
right,
go on.
and it's the absence of believing in it. And it's because their identities were stripped from them, just like the millennials were. But the difference is between the millennials and the Zoomers and Coomers is that the Zoomers or the millennials, when they were told all this, it almost was rebellious to say against your parents, your grandparents, yeah, we're all fascists, we're all Nazis just for having white skin, we're terrible, just because we're Catholic or Jewish or Christian, we're horrible, we've oppressed everybody, blah, 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 here's my,
Yeah.
absolvance. But the Zoomers and the Coomers, which is like kind of like the Groyper crowd, they saw that, and yeah, there's nihilism there because they've seen real nihilism. It's been embedded in them. But I think that's too easy of a label to say nihilism because really, it's more rebellion. Kids love to rebel, and when these children are being told constantly, "Your white skin makes you horrible," they're like, "Well, no, okay, fine. You want to say that? Then I think everyone who doesn't have white skin is horrible. How about that for rebellion?" And that's what we're
Except
seeing now.
we are seeing that, but it's a little tricky with them because I feel like there is an element of there's a couple of different flavors of this. There are those that are saying this. I think majority are not saying it seriously. I think most of them, if I had to choose one word more than nihilism to define how I think of Zoomers, it's just like troll. I think all Zoomers are just born trolls, like as their default mode. Like I
Wait, but
think,
wait, real quick. Let me
yeah,
hold on, real quick. Let me ask you
yeah.
this then. You're saying that you don't think that you're almost saying that the whole Nazi, anti-immigrant, etc., is mostly ironic and not serious. But let me ask you this: how serious do you think that these young 27, 28, 29-year-old millennial men really? How serious in their heart do you really think they feel that all their own people with their skin color are horrible and Nazis? How
I,
serious do you think they are?
I think they're more serious, to be honest.
Do you?
Well, this you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I
No, I
see
don't
it,
know the answer.
but this is just my interpretation. But like I said earlier, I feel like if we're going to use labels again, there's a basic divide philosophically between millennials and Zoomers. That being the existential versus the nihilistic crisis. I feel like the millennials had an existential crisis, as every generation does, which means that they found that the meaning they had been given by society was lacking, so they needed to find a new one. That's existentialism. It's the
Right.
kind of like the despair of conventional truth and the need to find something else, even if it's radically different. And so that's where we get white privilege and all this nonsense. People, it's like, oh God, my skin, my country, flagellation, flagellation, bullshit, bullshit. Um, I feel like the Zoomers saw the millennials in the long throes of this existential crisis, of this wokest religion, and they thought that's fucking ridiculous. That just no. But rather than saying like, well, what meaning do we need? It's like, no, this whole thing's a joke. I'm not going to take any of it seriously.
Yeah, but I also feel like, yeah, I think you're spot on, by the way. But I think that, and yeah, that's actually a brilliant point. But my point, yes,
Thank you.
alongside of that, sorry, I had to stop and think about that because it was actually pretty profound.
I
But
gave you buffering.
yeah, you definitely
I buffered you.
agonistic buffering, as John Ward says,
Mhm.
which is an incredible concept. But anyway,
I
I
I like
think
that.
that along with that is that they saw that and revolted against it. But also, I feel like, yes, there's nihilism behind it. Like, you guys are
Mhm.
bullshit. This is all bullshit. Everything we've been taught by our elders is bullshit. It's all bullshit. But I also believe that when young men and women find themselves, which in young men and young women often merge and converge into lanes generationally, meaning that when young 20-year-olds in 2019, young 20-year-old men and young 20-year-old women, the two of them, their trends often feed off each other because young men love young women and young
Most
women
of
know they can use, well, yeah, well, no, well,
them.
just all respect due to the gays. But
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I'm saying
I do.
culturally.
Yeah.
Male and female cultures of the same generation, be you gay, straight, or transgender, they feed off each other.
Oh
It's a
yeah.
river. And the salmon all flow upstream
Hmm.
in that
Lots of
case.
salmon.
Lots of salmon, lots of fish. I'm talking
Hmm.
about vaginas, kidding. Also manginas. But my point is, there is that nihilism, but through that nihilism is also born resentment,
Hmm.
actual philosophies, actual existential crises. Like, for instance,
Yeah.
like going back to the whole young white men being the majority of a country that their forefathers built, seeing that they're now being trashed, and that the generation right that was born right before theirs buys into it wholesale, and they're like, wait, so everything sucks? I suck, we suck, our whole culture sucks? Fuck it. But then when you find lost young boys and girls, and when I say young, I mean, adolescent, like 18, 19, 20, young
Yeah.
adults.
There are no 11-year-olds thinking about these issues.
Right. But they start to think through that nihilism. The nihilism is just a gate to resentment, actual philosophies. And I think resentment's being built that's ironic. Like a lot of the young coomers, like COOMERS, like the Groyper type crowd, like a lot of them don't really mean it. But I think that a lot of people, in a way, like they can joke about it so much that they're masking other resentments that are building under the surface. And I
Oh
do
yeah.
think we have a problem on our hands. I
Oh,
do.
definitely. Now, yeah, the thing about nihilism is that, at least in my opinion, it never really you can't really base an entire identity off of nihilism permanently. Eventually, you have to form some sort of meaning in your life, even if you're not entirely aware of what it is. And yeah, while the Zoomers may have started with, the nihilistic troll seed, let's call it, it's definitely growing into something, and it is a worrisome crop that we have coming up. Um,
Well, it's
because
Germany versus Germany. It's, in my
it's a
opinion, it's
house
Germany.
divided.
It's Germany. Like, all right, so not to use, I just, for anyone who doesn't know me or cats, I don't use Nazi references, but Germany versus Germany, meaning in my, like, I look at Germany in the 1930s, and they were destroyed from a world war that they had no place taking part in, and everything was shattered. Their ruling class was obliterating them, selling them out to foreign powers. And so when Hitler came along, they were like, fuck yeah, let's do fascism. But then here's Germany versus Germany. Then, about a few decades later, Germany is so guilt ridden, so liberal, so not liberal, but so far the other way, so anti nationalism, because they were so scared to be Hitler, that they became the most open and horrible society. They took something that was growing and was one of the best economies in the world, one of the highest standards of living, and turned it into a refugee hellhole
Yeah.
because it's Germany versus Germany. It's the two extremes. And Germany always goes one way or the other, far, far left or farthest left, because I don't accept that fascism is a right wing concept.
No, I get that. And yes, Germany has definitely become where they've overcorrected to the point of to be like a good German at this point is to be anti-German. And there is like this sense that they're, this ancestral guilt. And let's not mince words here. Germany as a country in history, there have been some amazing Germans that have made the world a better place, but Germany has not always had a very positive effect on the world as a country, simply because when you have that many people that are that determined that they are absolutely right and everyone else must agree with them, they inevitably impose their will and have destructive consequences, whether it be a war or the European Union or just anything. Everything Germany does is causes intense ripples in the world, sometimes for
And
good.
it always has. And I'll give you the bet. My favorite example is the Industrial Revolution, which I
Hmm.
think is one of the worst things that ever happened to humanity. A lot of people
Hmm.
think it started in England and America, which is like 16, 18, 19, when all the mills started springing up and labor started dying down and machines started coming in the ideals and morals that came with it. But Germany was one of the four founders. German Americans, German Brits, and Germans founded most of these equipments. And the thing about Germany is weird is what you were talking about is that, that ripple effect that Germany has, but it tried to ripple into England, that self-hatred, in that super far the other way from Nazi Germany, that Germany went to Angela Merkel's Germany, refugee
Hmm.
Germany,
To anti-Germany.
and that anti-Germany could have gone to England. But I think
It,
that the fact that England really shouldn't have much guilt, like
no,
for how
historically
long they
speaking,
ruled, for how long they ruled the world, they did pretty right by most people. But with
most of the country,
slavery, there's still
but
slavery today, more than
yet,
ever in the world ever.
except they ended it. They were the first
Right,
major world power to ever do that, and
right,
like
and
they weren't
it's
perfect. No one is like, but it's like America. Like we're not perfect either. But you know what? No, fuck it. Like talking about the a lot of people on the far woke spectrum like to talk about all the terrible things that America's done. Yeah, you know what? We're not perfect, but compared to in any other historical period, any other superpower at the level that America is, or what England was before, we're talking about two countries that see it, excuse me, that see it as their moral imperative to protect their own citizens and people who are not their citizens from events of total destruction and problems that affect, that it was not directly beneficial to England to end the slave trade. I mean, yes, they didn't really need it anymore, so to a certain extent there was that or why they got rid of it, but the fact that they actually got rid of it and
but
actually
that's
shut
not
down the
that
slave
way.
trade.
That's misleading because that's not why they got rid of it. They didn't need it any longer because so many people were revolting against it that it became insoluble.
Hmm.
It's the
It was
fact that
deeply unpopular.
the English people hated it. They were like,
Hmm.
"This, I feel real sketched out by this."
Hmm.
And something just to piggyback off that, what you said about how a superpower like us or England, when England ruled the world, which they did, um, they number one, they were one of the kindest, maybe since us or other than
in
us, the
in many ways,
kindest.
actually, well, if you talk about the way they treated their former colonies and the countries that they were actually in many ways better than we are, because here's the thing: we have a similar empire to England, let's say, but it's not official. We don't pay benefits. Like we
But
just
it's
kind of,
not fair because we're two
well, yeah,
hundred some years in the making, and they had a long
it's different
time.
styles of, yeah, they were an actual empire. They've got a queen and but what I'm saying is, like, when England took over a country, because it was the colonial period, they took over the country. It became
Right.
part of their country, and there was a lot of nitty gritty, boring, expensive work that they would have to do. Like it became their responsibility in their minds to make the country better, if nothing else, just so that they had more usable resources. When America has influence over a country, it's really just, we have an arrangement. We have bases there. You do things for us, we do things for you, but it's not like we're
Right.
going in there and like, building roads and schools and reforming their legal system, because that's what you get when you actually own a country, as opposed to just sort of, being influential. And this is not
Okay,
me.
well, wait. Just to combat that, there's never been a country. I went to Valley Forge Military Academy, not for
Mhm.
long, and I learned a stat that I'll never forget. And it's probably bigger now, this number, but when I was a kid, I learned this stat. The United States has the nuclear capability to blow up not a country, not a continent, not a region. We have the nuclear firepower to blow up the entire world 43 times.
Yep.
We can drop a nuclear warhead on a target less than the cap of this energy shot from space. And so England never had that.
No.
Alexander never had that.
No.
Genghis Khan never had that. Look at what did Genghis Khan do the minute they had the bow? Just bow and arrows. What is it? Is it 1/4 or 3/4 of Asia can trace their lineage back to Genghis Khan?
I think it's 1/4, but maybe it's 3/4. I'm not sure. But yeah, there was
But
rape and
regardless,
pillage on. Yeah, that it's thousands of
that's
years
some
later.
my
That's
man
a
got his rape on.
Yeah, that's a lot of raping and a lot of pillaging,
And with
and
what?
yeah, with horses,
What was his strong arm? A
a lot
bow
of
and
horse,
arrow. A
well, and
bow and fucking
horses,
arrow.
and a lot of horses.
Well, they're cavalry. Yeah, I mean,
No, I
absolutely.
mean that was the yeah, but we're
But
getting
the
we're getting
bow
into
and
weeds
arrow
here. Yeah,
was the thing that changed the Mongol horde into a world crusher.
it is true.
Now, because they were up against opponents who could only do hand-to-hand combat. Now, America, with the power we have, and not just, a lot of people think like I just said, of course, I just quoted them 43 times we can blow up the world. Well, think about the things we could do without you even knowing. Think about the NSA, think about the CIA, think about the FBI. We have people embedded into just about every government in this world. We could kill your world leader like that.
Hmm.
Look at Gaddafi.
Yep, or rather,
So
don't,
my
since you
point
can't.
is, what we have done in our very young country is so fantastic. And so to bring it all home, when these Zoomers and Boomers look at what the Millennials have been taught, they're like, wait, no, fuck that. I'm proud of who I am.
Hmm.
Like, and you have people who are telling them the truth and some mistruths, as all leaders do. A
Hmm.
lot of these people are telling the Coomers and Zoomers like, really faulty information as well, but they're telling them these millennials are lying. No other country has shown this much restraint and mercy. No other country, no other people, and this is true. White Christians, especially Protestants, have shown the most benevolent and decent ruling style of any people ever. Excuse
That's
me,
probably fair.
especially if you're including I mean, by far, if you're including the fact that Protestants, how Protestants treated non-Protestants, there's no other people on this earth that can claim that they treated outsiders better than Protestant Christians. It's true.
Sorry, I muted myself. Yes, no, that is very true. Now, I want to tie this together because I don't want us to go on for hours and hours like we have been known to do. But
I
um,
do.
yeah,
How dare you?
I know I'm terrible, but I don't think that people are going to watch us for like 6 hours, as interesting as we might find it.
That's because I didn't bring MAGA into clip yet. Once she comes in, they'll watch forever.
That's true. You need what you really need to do is get a cat though, because those just make videos much more entertaining. I'm not your
Maddie,
cat.
get my gun.
But yeah, the
The pistol.
it'll be really interesting to see where the Zoomers go once they because right now they're in their youth rebellion stage because they're very young. They're still incubating. Once once they actually have to start getting their own, once they start having to get car loans and getting their own jobs and houses, start getting kids, and once they're no longer the babies, like once there's whatever the new like ultra zoomers or whatever the next generation, it will be like, fuck you old man, your memes are stale, but because there's always something like that.
Okay,
uh,
Zoomer.
Okay, Zoom. Yeah, have you seen people are doing that now, and they get so angry? It's like, no, that's
No,
not
I,
how this
I
works.
didn't see that. I
I
meant more like,
no, I have seen
okay,
people.
Boomer, but one
I've
day they'll be old as well.
I've seen like boomers and millennials say "okay, Zoomer" to young kids, and it pisses them off so badly. It's hilarious. It's like that is not how this meme works.
Yeah, how dare you, sir?
Mm-hmm.
But I think they'll become more resentful because the fact of the matter is that the conservative establishment, and I'm sorry, I'm going to take a shot across the bow at our own side. I think that we've made it so we've allowed the long march of the left through the every single institution, colleges, and so you'll say, well, what job experience do you have? Well, I don't have any. Well, you need job experience to get a job. It's like, well, wait, if I need job experience to get a job, how am I going to get a job? Oh, well, we have the unpaid internship. And also, inflation is blowing up so much, and wages aren't rising to the point of GDP that you really can't buy a house. Like, I'm 27. I bought my first house this year, thank God. But I think that if we don't take seriously the concerns of Zoomers, that
Yeah,
not only are we fucked, but we deserve to be fucked because
we're potentially creating a permanent underclass.
yeah, well, yeah,
It's
but
already in the making.
but what upsets me, and I know I'm controversial on this subject, but there's never been a race of people, not not even Jews. Sorry, guys. People will check me and say Israel. Well, Israel came after America and Protestant America and Christian England. So that's where Israel got their niceness, by the way. You've never seen a race of people like white Christian or Anglo-Saxon whites treat minorities like Anglo-Saxon Christians have. Now, a lot of people are, a lot of Zoomers are thinking, well, when, the media is bragging about us being a minority in 15 years, well, never in history has a minority treated us well or anyone well,
No,
like when
usually
we're the minorities.
when a
So if
minority
we don't
becomes the
address these
majority,
issues, what?
when a minority becomes a majority, it usually means well, it's never really a good thing for that host nation. It usually means either there's an invasion, there is a extreme lack of fertility on the other end, a plague. Like it signifies it's not a natural thing to happen to a country that continues to exist.
Right. I love that. Yeah. Well said. It's not a natural thing to happen. And so you got to ask yourself, well, why is it happening? And in a lot of people, now here's where I'll stick up for myself and my own. A lot of people say, well, the Jews. No, it's
Oh my God, I know. I'm so tired of Jewish
there are
conspiracies.
outside forces right now. And I know I always harp on this, especially China. China pushes more interracial porn on America. Do you know this? Than over over 3/4 of interracial porn studios are sponsored, like black.com. People like the Jews. Look it up. Look up who sponsored and who owned that studio before that took off. Look up all of these. There's a site, and I found this out because I do a lot of this research. Watching my, I'm going to say
What?
this on camera. Watching my mother go black.
Oh,
Don
good God.
Juan.
Oh
No, it's
my
real.
God.
No, it's real.
I'm sure it is. I'm just
It's real.
picturing such a thing.
No, it's huge. It apparent. I'm telling you, I was looking at this thing. They make like I got to look up the numbers. This site, it's called. I'm pretty sure. You look it up. You'll find it. Just type into Google. Watch. Don't. But
Yeah,
watchingmymothergoblack.com. I think it's what it's called. So it's a site where white young men watch their mothers get banged by black men, and
ew.
now and no, really, in front of them. And then there's a new site that just came out, or I might be being a fucking,
Who would use the? Who would actually do such a thing? I wouldn't want to be in the same room with my mother having sex with anyone.
if my mother had sex in front of me, someone would be dead. Everyone would be dead.
Yeah, it's like
It'd be a
it.
fucking.
Are we sure this
Wait,
isn't
it
some
gets
weird
worse. It gets
fetish
worse.
stage thing?
Cats, it gets worse.
Oh God.
So this is how this news story started. And I'm not going to say the site because I'd get in trouble because it's a very controversial site that I found this out from. But then there's another site called, it's a newer one. I don't know. I don't know when the timeline of when these sites were built. They could have been 50 years ago. I don't know. But it's new. So it's not 50 years. But so there was Watching My Mother Go Black. Now there's a new one called Watching My Daughter Go Black. And it's white fathers watching their daughters get gangbanged by black men.
You can't see my face right now, but it's contorted in confused disgust. That's I don't
But
know.
here's the thing, this article was aptly pointing out the psychological effect this has because it's taboo. And a lot of young men, especially young white men who are online, jerking their dicks to fucking whatever porn they want to watch. And it's taboo. So they hit click and they watch it. The psychological effect and on the brain that has, and like that, it breeds that cuck mentality into white men. And what I was watching is that China not only owns most of these sites, like the corporations that own these greater platforms, they buy major advertising and major number one spots on Pornhub, and there's another really big one. I
XTube.
get on it. No, sounds
Anyway,
like
one of those.
RedTube.
Red.
RedTube.
Mm-hmm.
And they buy the number one spot. So when you click RedTube, if you go into your website, it doesn't matter what you like. You go into this website, what you'll find is interracial porn. Here's why. They're pushing it on you. And so young men who just want to spank their dick for 2 minutes or however long a 16-year-old lasts, they go on and they look at the first thing they see and they're like, oh, that's a really hot, fucking gorgeous blonde girl. I'm going to click it. It's her getting gangbanged in front of her dad, But fuck it, This is mind control. And it is. It's conditioning.
That is something that I'm going to have to think about. I really don't want to because it's gross and weird. But yeah,
It's probably why all my friends are gay. No, really. You guys are the last frontier of holding down the fort.
Yeah, there's definitely a strong push for, the I mean, how many times have we seen articles talking about how white gays that don't want to have sex with black men are racist? It's like it's been a big problem. And like this idea that eh, yeah, I mean, this is really a whole subject. We really should just have a porn episode. Next time we get together, we're going to just
I'd like
talk.
to actually.
Yeah, let's
We should have done it. We should have done it when the iron was hot. When it was hot. When the Daily Wire sparked that whole controversy. We should have done it then.
well,
Because you and I have talked about this for so long.
it's never too late to readdress a subject. Well,
I think we would do a better. I think we would do a better take.
well, without next time. Tune in next time to listen to a Jew and a gay talk about porn.
JK, we're just gonna be jerking it to black porn the whole time.
We're switching from YouTube to Pornhub now. Sign up, be our patrons, like get molds, the whole thing.
Yeah, and we're also on Patreon for
Hey, is
our
that
gay
still a thing?
food porn.
They still have Patreon. I thought they got rid of Patreon.
Oh, did they?
I think they did. Well, I think this is as good a place as any to tie up this incredibly bizarre and twisted narrative that we call Kaggot. Thank you for watching with us. Um, we're not paying for your therapy, by the way. That's on you. Like, you subjected yourself to this. You can't. Yep. Sorry. Not sorry. You love it. Admit it.
But on top of the fact that they secretly love it and they're being warped and their minds are being fucked up and distorted, like we don't want any money. I don't need your money. We don't. We're not asking for
I
Patreon
do.
or
I
Patreon
want your money. I want all of your
or
money.
we're not asking for Patreon or Gatreon for cats.
I
What
really
we
should. That'd
want
be awesome if they had Gatreon.
is for you to drop trowel. All
I
right,
don't know what
never
that
mind.
even. I don't even know what that means. But on that
It means
note,
drop your pants. What do you mean? What are you, a communist?
I'm.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Yeah,
I'm gonna
maybe
start vaping like you.
we don't have a gay term for that because like it's just assumed that the pants are going to come down on their own when the gays are involved. Like we don't need to have a word for it. We just have a look. Yep, you're missing out. All right, everyone. Talk to you later.